Thank you all so much for the invitation to be here today, and thank you to the NRA for being in Kentucky, a great gun state, as we like to call ourselves. We have in Kentucky over 1 million deer. Our hunters here in Kentucky take about 110,000 deer a year, and we've had over 100,000 deer per year harvested here because of our great Fish and Wildlife department that we have. And we also have the largest elk herd east of the Mississippi. We have approximately, yes sir, we have approximately 7,500 elk. And those of you who haven't seen elk need to come to eastern Kentucky in September to enjoy elk in rut. The symphony that they produce in the mountains is just absolutely spectacular. And I would like to present to the NRA President, John Ziegler, a photograph of two of those elk. This was taken, I believe, either this past winter or the winter before, and these are, I think it was back in January, but it also has on here our new logo, Unbridled Kentucky Adventure, because Kentucky, within the next 5 years, will become the #1 outdoor adventure tourism state in the nation. And I want to present this to John Ziegler. Thank you. You know, I consider myself an outdoorsman. I love to hunt and I love to fish, but there was nobody greater fisherman than my grandfather. My grandfather lived during the Depression. If you didn't catch fish, you didn't eat. And he would always catch fish. Anytime he went out, he'd always come back with a mess of fish. And the game warden asked him once, Dominic, you know, you're such a great fisherman, I've got to see your technique. So one day, my grandfather took the game warden out fishing. He got on a boat, he paddled out to the middle of the lake, he opened up his tackle box and he pulled out his favorite lure. I don't think they sell these lures anymore. He pulled out a stick of dynamite. And he lit the dynamite and he threw it over, and boom, all the fish bellied up, and he started to pick the fish out of the lake. And the game warden said, Dominic, that's illegal. You can't do that. I'm going to have to write you up. My grandfather reached back into the tackle box, pulled out another stick of dynamite and lit it and handed it to the game warden and said, now, are you going to fish or are you going to talk? You know, Thomas Jefferson said, if we trade freedom for security, we will soon have neither. Think about that. If we trade freedom for security, we will soon have neither freedom nor security. And too many people in our country believe that if we trade guns, we will have more security. But those of us who were raised understanding guns and being familiar with what a gun means and the true use of them for sports, for outdoor sports activities, we understand differently. And it's my belief that all discrimination has at its base ignorance. Whether you're unfamiliar with something, you don't understand something, you're not familiar with something, it's easy to be against it. All discrimination has at its very heart ignorance. And those who are against the freedom to own guns, most of them really live in cities where they weren't exposed to it at a young age. My father taught me about guns. You know, I'm from eastern Kentucky, from the mountains of eastern Kentucky, and I knew about guns from as long as I could remember. I had a .410 gauge for Christmas when I believe I was 7 or 8 years old, and that was just natural for us. He taught me the safety. He taught me what it meant to handle a gun. He taught me all the things that I needed to know to be familiar with guns. And as I grew up and I went to college and I met people from cities, I understood that those that are against them didn't have that type of education from their parents. And I really think that what we need in this country is more education. We need more education to remove the discrimination against, because of lack of familiarity. It's one thing to go to Washington or Frankfurt or whatever capital that you're talking to and talk to the people that vote, the congressmen or the senators or the legislators. But what we really need to do is we need to go to the constituents. We need to go to the people that push those who vote in Washington as a republic that we live in and educate them. And along those lines, what we're doing in Kentucky is something that I think is extremely exciting. This past year, we passed a bill that we call the Adventure Tourism Bill. We want to make Kentucky the #1 outdoor adventure tourism state in the nation. The governor and the first lady and I have been on a mission to produce a statewide multi-use trail system where you can get on a horse or a four-wheeler or a mountain bike or on foot and cross from one end of this state to the other and enjoy the beauty of the outdoors. We also want to gain access to enough land so that we could have more land for public access to hunting. Kentucky has lost 2% of our hunters per year. And part of the reason is because our hunters don't have access to land. If you don't have a place to go hunting, how can you teach your children about guns and about outdoors and about the greatness of the outdoors? We need more public access to lands for our people to hunt on so that we can educate people so that this whole process changes the mindset of those who are against hunting. So we want to produce in Kentucky that type of access. And along those lines, we're asking a partnership with the NRA to produce a Whittington Center for the eastern part of the country right here in Kentucky so that we can bring So then we can work with the organizations that work with our youth that, let's say, for instance, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, children that come from single-parent homes that need to have that type of mentoring that can teach them about outdoor activities, whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, whether it's riding on horseback, whether it's enjoying the outdoors. We need to get people outdoors because not only will that help us as parents bring up children, because let me tell you, you show me a child that's father puts a gun in his hands and teaches him about a gun, and I'll show you an adult later on that will not use that gun improperly. And you show me children that are outdoor enjoying the activities that we enjoy outdoors, and I'll show you a way to get rid of childhood obesity. It all goes hand in hand. So what we've included here is better health care, better education, and freedom for our people to enjoy the great outdoors. That's what we bring to you in Kentucky. Thank you for being here. God bless you, and let's carry on.